Hey guys, welcome back to another Geek Time, and this week I'm going to explain and show where I can how we built my Buzz Lightyear cosplay. This was built back in 2016 and was the very first big build I have ever done, so we enlisted the help of Century 21 Props and Replicas. The link to Century 21 for their Instagram and Facebook will be in the description, so it would be awesome if you could check it out and follow. Anyways, a little background info on Buzz. It took two of us 8 weeks to build, averaging at 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, and the overall cost of the first version came to about £300 to £400. That is including the foam, glues, paint, silicone, Mod Podge, Under Armour, hood, and various other bits and bobs. Also, just a note to say, we have no plans, so everything was done as trial and error. This will be more of a how I did it instead of a tutorial on how to actually do it. But I am planning on redoing the costume after learning some new skills and also wearing it several times so I know what needs to be changed. Finally, these are only going to be stills and not video footage, but when we do our rebuild, we will make sure everything is documented via film for you. I've split it into 4 parts, and this week we will be looking at how I made the hands, gauntlets, and upper arms. So let's get into it. Starting at the gauntlets, first I measured the circumference of my wrist and just under the elbow. I used parcel paper to draw out any plans before transferring to foam. So then cut out a prison shape and look at all the waste on the left. Future me is shaking my fist at 2016 me. Oh well. So then I tried it on around my arm and fastened with masking tape. At the time I remember being happy with it, but in hindsight you can see the top is too tight and also not long enough. Also, the prism shape wouldn't sit right. If I was to do it from scratch again, I would measure the length of my arm from wrist to elbow and wrist to inner elbow part thing, whatever that is called. I'd cut out a rough shape and then put it around my arm, taping it, allowing a comfortable space between paper and skin. Then draw cut lines, cut it all around and fasten again to my arm to see how it works. Also remember, you need to get your hand through the wrist part if you are doing it as a solid piece and it will not be opening. I ended up going with that shape stupidly. Anyways, I pinned it down to some EVA foam and marked around the edges with a Sharpie. Again, in hindsight, I would have turned the template and the EVA foam around and marked on the back so I wouldn't get the pinholes and pen marks on the side I want to use. Dope! I cut out the first gauntlet and then used that as a template for the next one. Again, do not do this, as I now have 2 different size gauntlets. It doesn't matter anyways because they wouldn't fit my arms. Oh, but I did keep these bits from the edging of the foam. Keep those in mind for later. So we moved on from gluing the gauntlets together. The Sherlocks of you would notice that the foam has changed color, shape, and thickness. Yes, it soon became evident to me that what I did was wrong, and along came Century 21. We managed to get a proper size and shape using the parcel material. But we didn't take any pics or vids. But as you can see, it curls up towards the back, towards the elbow. Anyways, on to gluing, and we use contact adhesive or impact cement, which is a very sticky and messy glue. You have to apply it to both sides of what you're gluing, spread it with a lollipop stick, and then allow to dry for around 5 minutes. But make sure it is almost fully dry before you actually start sticking it together. Then carefully put edge to edge, but be warned, when you connect them, it is difficult to take back off, so take your time and make sure you do it right or could spoil the whole thing. So we jumped many steps again. I don't think I originally intended on doing a how-to video, just more documenting, so there we go. Anyways, we added some craft foam to the top to get the shape of Buzz's green part on his gauntlets. We did this because we wanted it a little elevation on it, because that's what it's like in the film. It is a little bit scrappy, but as I said, we were learning as we went along. Also, we shaped a piece of wood for the bump that is on his left arm where the screen would pop out. If we made a screen arm, we didn't. But anyways, we then applied a generous amount of Mod Podge and several layers. This is to soak into the foam, so when you paint it, the paint shouldn't soak into the foam, so use less layers of paint. Well, it should. I used a foam brush to apply it, and as you can see, it's a little bit streaky. Any tips from people to get it less streaky, then let me know in the comments. You keen Sherlocks would also notice the gloves in the background. We were working on several parts at the time, but for ease of these videos, we will look at one thing at a time. We then moved on to painting. We done a primer of white and then moved on to using a white gloss spray paint. Buzz is a toy.
You are a toy!
Yes, thank you, Woody. Anyways, we used a gloss to give it that plastic toy look. It was given several layers before moving on to painting the green, which was hand painted with acrylic paint. It was finally sealed then with a spray on varnish to continue that shiny toy look. Oh, also, you'll notice we added another piece of foam to the wrist part. This was because the wrist was too wide at the time. But anyways, finally moving on to the laser. I've never really been happy with this, but we did run out of time, and as you can see, it is literally just a torch strapped to the gauntlet. Enough said about that really. We did add a red gel filter too. I always had to ask people to help switch it on as I couldn't reach the button. I may put the suit on again to show you the limitations of the actual suit. Also, you can see on the seams that we used some hot glue and did not sand it down, and also did not fill the holes from the pins that we used. So tips there guys, sand down and fill holes. But neither of us had done anything like this at the time, and we were learning all the time. Now we would do it completely different right now. Go big or go home, right? Anyways, let's move on to the upper parts and elbows of the arm. So the upper arms and elbow pieces went back to the thicker EVA foam and just did a generic cylinder shape after measuring my huge bicep muscles. Who am I kidding? Look how small they are. Anyways, semicircles were cut out on either side at a 45-degree angle for the joints. Then we simply put some thinner EVA foam in where the elbow would be to simulate the ball joint of the elbows. I would redesign this to make it more like a ball, but for this it works. More experimenting is in order. Also, you can see here it has been Mod Podged and it was glued using the contact adhesive. Ignore the pieces on the left as that is one of the shin guards. Actually here you can see the gluing technique we don't recommend doing. The glue was not dry enough, so instead of waiting, we used pins to keep it together and rubber bands. This was the same technique for the gauntlets, that's why there were pin holes, and also too much contact adhesive was used. As you can see, it has spilled out. This will make it bumpy during painting because we didn't sand it down. Anyways, back to the arms, and as you can see, we have all elements to make the arms, and those crowns are back. You can also see a shield shape which will be attached to the upper arms. This is for the laser button and the other is just for one of the logos. So here is the full arm before painting, and as you can see on the left, the black rounded shape and crown are hot glued as well as using contact adhesive. This was to smooth down the gap as like a weld and also offer another additional support. Then the painting process, similar to the gauntlets: primer, white gloss, hand painted grey parts and the red button, and then varnish to seal. And these are all the bits all painted and waiting for varnishing, but first it needed some stickers. So I just found the items on Google image search and printed them out on sticker paper after a little bit of maths to get them the right size. I did spray them with varnish before cutting them out, as the sticker paper did not take the ink too well and would mark if touched, but then I cut them out and stuck them down before varnishing the whole arm piece. Oh, also the button was a milk jug top. Moving along to the final bit of this video, and that is the gloves. So I basically bought basic white working gloves with the rubber palms and fingers. Using craft foam, I cut out the basic shape and this time used the paper template for both. See, I do learn. Sticking it down was a challenge. I used hot glue for this and put my hand in it and then pushed down on the back of my hand. I don't recommend this as it is hot glue. So the second one, I put it in this tube and applied. Obviously the glove is porous, so glue seeps through, just some FYI. Cutting out some strips of craft foam, gluing to the knuckles, then putting them on and wrapping around to glue to the palm, which was protected by the rubber this time, then trimmed off the excess material. Looks pretty decent for a basic quick glove. We then tipped my fingers into silicone to paint for the purple tips and used a hair dryer to help dry it quicker. Then the tips were painted purple. Now this method worked well in theory, but during my first wear, the tips did keep falling off, but luckily I had a repair kit with me. But the second time I wore it, I just took them off and painted the tips on the gloves. And there, the gloves are finished. There we have the arms and hands part of the Buzz build. I realize that this video is more of a I wouldn't do that type of video, but people have asked me many times how we built this suit, so here we go. Built with lots of trial and error. Next week we will look at the boots part, which is full of more trial and errors, but hopefully you will learn like I did when building this. Thanks for watching. If you would like to hit that subscribe button, that would be great. And if you'd like to support us, then you can tip us on the link that is displayed on the screen and also on the description. All money tipped will go towards new equipment and software to make our videos better for you. Thanks everyone for all your support. It means the world to us, and look forward to chatting to you guys in the comments. But that is it for this week. So until next time.